Welcome to LeetCode JavaScript, a channel where we solve every single LeetCode question using JavaScript. Today we have 345 reverse vowels of a string. This is an easy question. Let's begin. Given a string S, reverse only all the vowels in the string and return it. The vowels are A, I, E, O, U. They can appear both in lower and uppercase, and this may be important later, so pay attention. Now, if we take a look at the first example, we see we have hello, and the output is going to be holy, simply because O and E, in this case, swap places. Now, this seems relatively simple to understand. However, you can probably realize that, hey, this has an abysmal like to dislike ratio. And I think this is a good question, so I'm going to give it a like. And of course, it also has a terrible acceptance rate, something like 40%, which is unheard of for an easy question. This is something you may look at a hard question. And the reason being is, this is a two-pointer problem. Two-pointer problems are very particular. You just kind of have to know the way to solve it. So I'm going to teach it to you so you don't have any of these issues. The first thing we're going to do is declare a variable se, and that's going to be s that's split with an empty string. What am I doing here? So I'm taking s, which in this case is hello, and I'm using a split to convert it into an array of characters. In this case, it's going to be HELLO. Why do I need that? Because you might think, hey, it's JavaScript. I can just iterate over a string with no issues. And that's true. However, we do need to make some swaps in place, which are hard to do or harder to do with strings. And you're welcome to try to do it yourself. It does add a bit of complexity, but you do not end up using the array in that case. Now we need two pointers. The first pointer is going to be end, and it's simply going to be se.length -1, so that's going to be the last index of se, or sc rather. And then we're going to have another, it's going to be the start index that starts at 0. So we're going to use a for loop, we're just going to call it I, as usual. And we're going to check whether I is less than end, and then we need to do I++. Now that we have our two indexes that start at the beginning and at the end, this problem is actually super simple if you really think about it. So you have an index that points to the start and one to the beginning. And what you want to do is find the first occurrence of a vowel, in this case it's going to be O, and then E, and then swap them, and then keep increasing I and decreasing end until they end up being the same value. And in that case, we're finished, and we don't have to do anything else. Now, how do we know whether something is a vowel? There's a couple ways to do it. Some people like to use regular expressions, hash tables, or even some string lookups, but I think we can do it in a very simple way using an auxiliary function, and we're going to call it isVowel. And isVowel is a function that's going to take a single parameter. We're going to call it s. We're going to have a character c. We're going to call it s that to uppercase. What uppercase? Because as you can read here, the vowels can be either lowercase or uppercase. It also, saying the constraints, can be any ASCII character. So we're not really concerned whether something is uppercase or lowercase at the end of the day. We just need to know whether something is a vowel itself. So by making everything uppercase, we can do the checks extremely simply. And we're going to return the following. And this is a bit long, but it's no way complex. We're going to check whether it's C is equal A, or C is equal E, or C if it is equal to I, or if C is equal to O, or finally if C is equal to U. So this is super simple. We're simply going to check for all of the 5 vowels that there are. And since C is always going to be uppercase, we just write uppercase to simplify the way we check. And now we're going to check if isVowel for the current one. So it's going to be SC of I. So if the current index I that we're looking at is a vowel, then we need to look for the first occurrence of end also being a vowel. And the way to do it is using a while loop. So we do if not isVowel SCN. However, there's a caveat here. End always has to be greater than I and this is not guaranteed to occur here. So we gotta do another condition. We can do end I is less than end, just to make sure end is always greater than I in this case. And while we do that, we're gonna do m minus minus until we find the first occurrence of a vowel. Alright? Now we have to check whether I is not equal to end, because imagine you have a string like Bob, and what I and end are going to be pointing at the same vowel, and there's no really point in changing anything, so we're going to ignore that case. Now we're going to be swapping two indexes, and the way to do it is super simple. We're going to use a temporary variable. Temp is going to be sc of I, then we're going to do sc of I is going to be equal to sc of end, and finally sc of end is going to be equal to temp. In this case, we simply change si for send. We need this extra variable just to do the change. Then we do end minus minus, so end keeps decreasing for the purposes of the for loop. Great. So after that, we have an array that has the satisfactory answer, but that's not what we want. What we want is a string. And how do we convert this array into a string that looks like this? Well, this is relatively simple. We're simply gonna do return sc that join and give the empty string as parameter. Let's run this code to see if it works. And it does. Now, there's a couple of things you may need to think about. First, some interviewers may ask you, do not use split or join. You have to use a for loop just to show you actually know what split and join do. And in this case, it would be a simple for each loop. And you simply add to an empty array. You would start with an empty array, and you would simply append every single value of C or of S, every single character to be one. And enjoy, it would also be a for each loop. And in this case, you would be adding to an empty string rather. So that's something you may want to keep in mind. If you find this problem in interview, you may not be able to use split and join. These are just shorthands that you can simply do with a for loop. Now let's try to submit this. And there you go. The runtime is quite fast, so 85% faster than all other JavaScript submissions. Now let's think about the time and space complexity. The time complexity actually, in this case, is O of n, because in the worst case, we have a string with no vowels, like something like this. Then we're just gonna be looking at every single one and realize that there's no vowels to be found. So that's it. So O of n is the time complexity, and the space complexity is gonna be also O of n. Well, we're using this array sc. Well, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.